In today's video, I'm going to bring you through the exact same creative principles along with examples, real life examples you can utilize that allow brands to scale to 70, 100, sometimes even $200,000 in sales in a single day, okay? In case you are a completely new viewer, my name is Brando. I work with 8-figure brands, 7-figure brands. This is just one of our own clients, just so you see the type of caliber of clients that we're typically used to working with. Here's the refresh so you know this is real. Now that we got the proof out of the way, let's jump in right into the strategies. As I said before, I'm going to bring you through some really important creative frameworks and then real life examples that you can use in today's world to actually give you a better chance of making creatives work and scale. Before we get into that, these are the basics. There's 3 types of winners. I like to categorize them into 3 different types of categories. There's the small winners, which is the ones that we're not really interested in, to be honest, and what most people think is a winner, but it's kind of not because it's a small winner. These are typically the ads that spend 3K, 2K, maybe 2-3x ROAS, decent. It's not really consistent and it doesn't really allow you to scale. We want to go for the decent to big daddy winners, which is what I like to call them. And these are typically the ads that spend in the tens of thousands of dollars, right? Profitably and consistent. And then of course the big daddies are, over 100,000, 500,000 lifetime spend, very profitable and consistent ROAS. And these are typically the ads that like take 90-95% of the percentage of the spend. And they're just really, really consistent, 3, 6, 12 months old, okay? So there's a big misconception in the market, big misconception that in order to find the big daddies or the medium winners, the ones that keep the ad account not alive but scaling, is that you just need to do more creative. This is what the marketing guru says: do more creative, do more creative, do more creative. But people don't understand that if you go after creative volume, first of all, you have to make sure that your hit rate is on point. And I'll bring you through a couple examples of what I mean by hit rate. But you cannot scale. It's like sending traffic to a website that has low conversion rate. Okay, if it doesn't make any sense. Same thing is like if it takes you 300 ads to find one winner, it doesn't make sense to scale that process. If you're going after volume, you are competing also, on a side note, against brands that are publishing 20, 30,000 creatives a month. For example, here is an example of a brand, just Goldie Nutrition. If you take a look at what they're doing on TikTok Shop alone, they're launching 69,000 videos a day. And what does it say here? This is basically the number of videos related to the shop published by affiliates within the selected categories and date, excluding self-operated accounts. So this is what the affiliates are pushing out. They're pumping in 70,000 videos a month. Can you even compete with that? So this is volume. If you want to scale, you can scale with creative volume, but if you want to do creative volume, you're competing against this. And even if their hit rate, meaning that it takes them like 600, 1,000 videos to find one winner, because they're doing so much volume, then this model actually makes sense, right? Look at the number of videos that they're publishing. Every single day they have 2,310 new videos. That's on average, okay? So going back to the framework, we don't want to compete against that. So this is the better way to optimize hit rate. You need to do 2 things. You need to have a clear system and process and when it comes to like tracking creative tests and also tracking your hit rate. Why do we want to do this? Because we don't want to go for volume. We want to go for marketing based on like intent, we like to say, right? So everything is like super researched. It has a thought process. There's a thought behind the script, behind the avatar that we're trying to target. And so everything is a lot more kind of like analyzed and analytical, right? Based on real research, active real research. And so if we're basically flipping the script. Instead of doing 70,000 videos a month, we do like 10 to 15 videos a week, right? 40, 50 videos a month, but there's so high intent that our hit rate is like 10, 15% instead of like 0.01%, right? So we're like 100xing our potential of finding winners by just doing stuff with more intent. So these are the 2 processes. This is a streamlined creative tracking system that allows you to break down all the components that make an ad, analyze the ad, categorize them, and utilize a tracking ad hit rate system to know exactly how many ads it's taking you to find a winner. Then we need to be able to scientifically break down why winning ads are winners, and I should also add plus why losing ads are losers. If we can understand why winners are winners and losers are losers, then we're pretty much already 10 steps ahead, because not a lot of people do this. And also consider one thing before I move forward, is that most of our ads are going to be losers. So we would be doing a disservice to ourselves and our team if we did not at least understand why a losing ad is a losing ad, knowing that we spend 90% of our time on the losing ads. So we might as well also understand why they don't work, right? And so this is a process that allows you to understand the framework of what makes or breaks a winning ad or a losing ad, and what are the specific elements that create something that works or create something just that doesn't work. Putting these 2 things together gives you high hit rate, aka you need fewer ads to find big daddy winners. Okay, and so we have to understand one important thing. Okay, and if you stick until the end, I'm going to show you like a really cool software that I'm working on, that we're kind of like IPing, and like we're putting together all of our resources and our know-how after working with over 100 brands, spending millions of dollars on paid advertising every year, and we kind of put together everything into like this demo kind of creative engine, right? I'm gonna bring you through where there's like agents working together. If you stick until the end, I'll show you what I'm doing here, but this is really interesting, and it's like, I think it's the future of like research, scripting, doing creatives with AI, and like everything in one spot, and also analyzing performance. I'm gonna show you this in just a second. I'm just ahead of the curve here, but let me show you over here. Let me bring you through this example first, and then I'll show you the rest later. But we need to understand one quick thing, is that having a creative system that is optimized on hit rate means breaking down things very methodically and analytically, in a very nerdy way. So this is what most brands think a creative test is, and versus this is what we think a creative test is, and what the brands that essentially scale think a creative test is. Creative test is not just a creative ad copy and headline. I'm not sure why people just, whenever they think of a creative test, these are the first three things that they think of, and that's what they think is like the entire creative made up of. And so we don't want to be this superficial. We want to dive deeper and actually understand the components, and understand why all these components make a creative test a winner or a loser. And so we need to understand the creative test is composed of an angle, a hook, a script, a creative, an ad format, ad copies, a persona that we're targeting, the emotion that we're triggering, right? Are we triggering people that are unhappy, right? People that want different aspiration in terms of they want to go from unhappy to happy, or motivated, or healthy. Like we're triggering specific emotional states. And maybe, if we take emotions, we maybe notice that the emotional state was going after unhappy people versus the emotional state going after people that, I don't know, something else, fearful, right? The fearful emotion maybe works better. And so we know that because we dissected and learned everything. And so our goal here, as I say in also my other videos, is that whenever we launch a creative test, we track all of these things, the script, the headline. This is just a sample of one of our creative testing tracking sheets, where we put everything into one space, right? Let me just show you a live demo in case you are a new viewer. There we go. This is a creative creative testing tracker sheet. As you can see, there's already other people in the sheet because I'm giving it away for free. I think it's the second or third link in the description. You can get it, it's free. But every single time we launch a test, we put it over here, and we track every single component of the test to make it unreasonable for us not to understand why it worked and why it didn't work. And then we come up with kind of like conclusions and learnings and next steps. And all of these graphs and all these things, this is kind of like what I'm creating here with my with kind of like my little software that I'm creating here. And by the way, I'd like to hear your feedback on this software when I go through it in the end, because maybe this is something that I'm going to push live to the masses at a very reasonable price. So I also want to learn your feedback on this later on. But regardless of this, we are tracking nerds. So we want to track every single component that makes the actual creative concept, so that we can understand why things work and why they don't work. Okay. Next thing why this is important is because whenever we track all this data, ad copies, we can filter by like copies, and like I'll show you in just a second here. We can basically go in here and filter by like results, so winners, and filter by like ad copies. So we know the ad copies that are the most profitable, and we can also filter by ROAS. So we know exactly, okay, what is this, this copy is a winner, this copy is decent, right? We know what type of copy is working. Same thing you can do with headlines and other things, right? And so this is very interesting because you end up with in a situation where exactly, you can filter by ROAS and by ad copies, or you can filter by hooks and by ROAS with hooks. And you can do the same thing with like headlines or emotional states or creative concepts. And then you're going to start recognizing patterns. And that's when you can start putting pieces of the puzzle together to recreate winning concepts, because you're tracking everything so methodically that you're making it unreasonable for you not to understand what is actually working on your account and for your customers, right? The other thing that we do very, very methodically is breaking down ads that are winners, so that my team can pretty much understand why they're working in the first place. I've gone through this concept many times in my other videos, but long story short, whenever we find a winner, we break it down scientifically by the frames. What happens from 0 to 3 seconds, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9, 9 to 11, you get the point. And so we also kind of attach the B-roll component to it, along with like the ad segment with a small explanation for both, so that my team understands what makes a winning ad. And they don't have to go here and copy this, okay? It doesn't make any sense to like copy this word by word or script by script or b-roll by b-roll, ad segment by ad segment. What makes sense here is to understand bind triggers, the framework of the ad, and why it's working in terms of like retention. What are the bind triggers? What is the ad actually saying that is making people buy, right? It's understanding the framework. We don't want to be copycats here, okay? And so this is really, really important. And we also have kind of like a sheet, which we call, I'm going to go over some really cool other stuff here, so stick in until the next part, really, really interesting concepts. But what I want to show you here is that one sheet that we are really tracking and kind of like also providing to our clients is something called a wholly creative document, right? Which looks something like this. And this is a document that it's kind of like really exaggerated in how much detail we go into here, but it's like a document that has all the research for all the customers, the winning ad breakdowns, the winning concepts, winning competitor ads, pretty much everything you can possibly imagine. Best UGC creators, winning scripts, winning ad hooks, concepts that worked, required B-rolls, the B-rolls that worked the best. And so we basically just looking at B-rolls. Here are basically the best B-rolls that we know are working in the market that we should be using. Or another example is like if we want to break down ads, where is it? Creatives, winning scripts, where the heck is it? Osha concepts, winning ad breakdown. Basically what we're doing here is that we're breaking down winning ads. Could be our ads, could be our competitors, and we're breaking them down by the framework, buying triggers, and also scene by scene. What I showed you before, this is just put into like vertical mode, like the timestamp, the section, the B-roll. So my team has the perfect example and infrastructure on knowing what works. They can basically go in the sheet and say, okay, what is the research that we kind of compiled that customers are saying on Reddit, for example, Amazon research, TikTok research, what avatars are we targeting, what is working in the market right now. Also, what are the winning ad breakdowns, for example, what are the creative concepts that are working, what are the hooks that are working. They know everything, they have everything into one place where they're like, I know these things are working, how can I put these things together to create my new concept? So we're making it once again unreasonable for my team not to understand what's making or breaking an ad or a creative concept. So this is the really, really important component here. Moving forward, let's talk about briefly what are the main components and actionable steps that you can take right now today to make a difference with your creative process. First of all, I like to see number one is a clear transformation. If you can have a very good understanding of what is the current state versus the future state, bringing people through a transformational story, whether that is like through a whitelisting ad or just a normal UGC ad or a raw UGC ad, you have to understand that people look for transformation. They don't really care about the product unless it really helps them transform their emotional state, their behavioral state, their aspirations, whatever their desires, like desired outcome. So if you don't show kind of like a current state versus future state in your ads, people are just not going to be interested. An example here is that we gather a lot of B-rolls for our clients, and so whenever we work with people, let's just say we're selling like a bra that is like special and very comfortable or whatever, and so we will probably ask for irritations, saggy boobs, like the B-rolls are of the current state, what the customer is facing right now, and then we will collect B-rolls of the future state. No irritations, it's anti-slip, it looks seamless under the clothing, it's breathable fabric, so it's non-sweaty. And so we're basically consistently throughout the video showing before, after, before, after, before, after. Second thing that we want to optimize for and understand is understand high retention versus low retention, right? Typically winning ads that have very high retention, so their hook rates are like 50, 60, 70%. Their hold rate, meaning what happens after second 15 until the end of the video, maybe second 60, there's super high retention, like 50, 60%. And so this is what typically an average ad looks like. You're getting people into the funnel, into the actual ad, and then they're just dropping off and dropping off and dropping off consistently, exponentially, second after second. But then these are the winning ads that just retain. And so we want to understand this high retention process. How do we do it? Well, we break down winning ads, because typically winning ads are also ads that retain very, very well. And so we want to understand, that's why we also break it down step by step to understand what components of that ad are working. Number 3 actionable step is creative research. And once you do the creative research, you should pretty much have researched B-roll approach, where you know that specific B-rolls are triggering people to buy because of the visuals or because of how they're being presented with the script. So one thing that we do is that once we understand that certain scripts and frameworks are working, we try to gather as much data as possible to then collect as much B-roll as possible so that we can recreate and add these buying triggers or visuals, buying visuals as well, you can call them B-rolls, that allow people to buy. And so once we understand them, we put them all into a sheet, the one that I showed you already before. It looks something like this, the required B-rolls, right? And then we pretty much understand, okay, this is what we should use. And by the way, you can also send this to the creators automatically. So once you have everything, you can send this sheet to the creators, maybe like 3 UGC creators, you have them do B-roll shots, as I share over here, and then they know exactly what they need to do because the document is very well organized, and so everything is like streamlined. Okay, once we have a lot of b-rolls, then we can pretty much recreate any type of ad with any type of sequence. You already know this. Next thing is very important, product seeding. This is kind of like a TikTok shop approach, but the objective is to find brand ambassadors, as I see here, that can produce winning pieces of content and then eventually pay them a retainer for a content they provide. Maybe $500 a month, $1,000 a month, but you're essentially getting a very good deal. And this is important because if you onboard the right people, like product seeding is great because you want to go after creators that have the experience, have maybe some sort of following, or have experience in a specific vertical or niche, so that they are essentially your ideal customer and all their videos are very natural. You don't have to script them. You can maybe share what has been working in the market, train them a little bit, but in most cases, if it's the right creator, they will do videos for you weekly. They will love your product. They are interested in working with you. They're interested about the idea of like getting maybe performance fees when their ads do well, and they will do very raw and authentic content. So if you can find creators that produce very raw and authentic content, then you're a step ahead. What is the process here? Well, we establish what we want, who we want to work with. We reach out to them. We share a brief brand script, brief. I called it. It's like a 5, 6, 7 page PDF that shows them our values and why they should be working with us instead of like other companies, and what are the money making opportunities if they actually stick with us. What are the benefits? What do they win? Are there prizes if they do very good videos? And then we onboard them as qualified creators into a Slack communities, like whatever, all the people that work with us, so that we can kind of like create this Wolf of Wall Street environment where we share wins, we share when things are working, and it's like a TikTok shop environment. They're like salespeople at the end, and so if you can also commission them whenever like they give you winning ads, then they will be a lot more motivated to actually doing the work and providing you stuff. And also, like, you know, it doesn't have to be this way, but I like to put them into one kind of Slack creator group when my clients start to do product seeding, because once you do product seeding, it becomes also a bit of a volume game. But it's so beneficial because you get so much raw pieces of content, which you can then either launch as it is, or you can kind of repurpose to recreate any type of ad that you want. For example, you know, ads like this, or ads like this, or reproduce ads like this, right? You get the point. And so that's pretty much it. Once again, this is the most important thing with the Holy Creative document that I just showed you. Once we know all the frameworks that work, right, we put into a content creator doc. We call it the Holy Creative document, and then the content creators have access to it, or a creative team has access to it, and then it becomes kind of like a flywheel effect of everybody knows what makes or breaks an ad. And so once again, we make it unreasonable for us not to understand that, increasing our chances of increasing our hit rate. What I'm showing you over here is like the TikTok shop kind of framework. These brands like Goldie, the one that I showed you before, the way that they're incentivizing people to do so many videos, like I shared with you over here, 70,000 videos, is that they have incentives. And incentives like, hey, if you do like 30,000 sales or 30,000 in GMV, or in like lifetime sales, you can win an iPhone or something like that. And so you don't have to do it like this, but this model works for like affiliate marketing type of thing. So you onboard them, they do videos for you, and then they basically, you track all those videos and those sales, and you give them a percentage. This is like the TikTok shop model. You don't have to do it like this. The product seeding way can also just be not with TikTok shop, but just on your own, like Slack, and you just give them an incentive to do videos, and then assuming the incentive is aligned and they're happy to work with you and vice versa, then you keep on going, and they can maybe send like 2, 3, 4, 5 videos a week or every couple of weeks, which gives you a strong library to work with. Anyways, I hope this was valuable. I want to show you very quickly what I'm working on, which is this software over here. I don't know what to call it yet. I'm also debating on whether I should launch it or not. But long story short, just to show you briefly what this is basically a creative engine built by AI agents that have been trained by millions of dollars backed by data. And basically what has been working well for us with like the 100 clients that we've been working with. So what we have is like a creative loop. So this is basically your entire situation of your hook, hold rates, CTRs. This is like a mini dashboard, but it all starts with agents, right? So what are the components that make or break a process? Well, you got to do research, you got to write scripts, you need assets, you need content, and then you need a performance agent that basically analyzes your meta ads, your performance, and your ad results to then understand what is breaking or making things, so that it loops the research agent again. It's like a loop: research, scripting, creative assets, performance analysis. Then it loops back into the creative agent, the research agent, which briefs the script agent. It's like a loop that learns itself based on proven researches. So an example of how this works over here, let me just take my face off briefly. But the way that it works over here is that you have the research agent that basically gives you ideas. And so you can also like, do full details. It gives you like avatar ideas, marketing angles ideas based on like actual sources, and in fact these are like data sources where you know they found like this. These are like random, by the way. This is like a random avatar, it's a demo, but you can basically also go through the resources yourself, click on the resource and see where it found the information. It's like a creative strategist on autopilot, right? And so you can kind of like, you know, collapse, you can approve or disapprove or edit these, and once it's approved it goes and moves on into like a script agent, which gives you batches of like scripts and hooks, and different types of creative frameworks. Not even to mention here in these processes you can also like chat with these you know, these agents if you want something specific, but it runs on autopilot. The whole process here, the idea is that it just continuously runs on autopilot. So every morning you wake up with new ideas that you can test that are backed by research and by like a script that was backed by research. And then we also want to build an asset agent where basically once you have the script, you can like, you know, we have templates that we can use. You can create B-roll ideas, you can generate them. You can also like launch a tool where you can like do B-rolls or like do AI actors and create your own scenes. And then if you have any special requests, there's also a chat box where you can you know, talk with the asset agent. This is all kind of like a conceptual idea, but I'm putting this into action. And then the last thing, which is my favorite thing, is the performance agent. So once again, you do the research. Based on the research, we do the script. Based on the research and the script, we provide assets and templates, at least this AI process does. And then after you launch it onto the ad account, it knows, and then it tracks performance with analyzing meta ad results, right? And so we track the hit rate, the ROAS, the CTR, the hook rate, ad fatigue, there's alerts, right? And then we can track, this is like winners versus losers. How many ads are we launching that are winners? Campaigns, breakdown by formats, right? Images are spending the most, or sorry, videos are spending the most. Age, gender breakdown, top creative by tags, right? What is working well on the ad account. And then this is my favorite one. Here it gives you like what you should be testing next based on the analysis. So, and you can send it to the script agent, you can send it to the research agent. So it's very, very well kind of like processed. And then you can also click on here and it breaks down all of the KPIs of the ad into one place. And most importantly, it gives you like insights on what you should be testing next and just testing recommendations. And automatically all this data is going to be stored and it's going to be used to your advantage. So every time, the more you move on and you move on and you move on, the research agent, the script agent, the asset agent, everything kind of like learns from its mistakes and learns from what is working and not working. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. I loved your feedback. This is not launched. This is just something we're building internally for our clients that we use. I mean, it's not client facing, but it's something we use internally for the agency. But let me know if this is something interesting that you would be interested to getting hands on if I launch it as a SaaS. I just want to hear your feedback, everybody's feedback. Okay, that is it for this video. Hopefully it was valuable. On a further note, if you are a brand doing at least $100,000 a month plus or minus, and you want to explore the opportunity of working with us as growth partners, where we essentially work together, we merge teams and we grow together as partners, you can book in a call. We're going to do an audit. It's probably going to be with me or one of my team members, and then we can explore the opportunity of working together. That is it for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, and maybe see you on the call.